Hello everyone, welcome to Women's Health with the Listening Midwife. Today is an outdoor edition and yeah, I'm Day Day, aka the Listening Midwife, and today I've got with me Mellisa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming and thank you for agreeing to share your experience with me. So today we're going to talk about Mellisa's experience of pregnancy and her journey to having her son Malachi, who was born in December 2021. So tell me a little bit about how the pregnancy started for you. So was this a planned pregnancy? Were you sort of, preparing? Were you planning?
No, it wasn't planned. Yeah, it wasn't planned whatsoever.
Okay.
And I had just moved to Ghana, so I was in Ghana for, I'd say, 3 months.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, wait, hold on a second. I've missed a few, and I missed one period. And I thought, wait, what's going on?
Okay.
And then as I was like Googling symptoms, like pregnancy symptoms, I saw a post on Instagram that said, if you have to Google, are you pregnant? That means you're pregnant. And I thought,
I love that.
So from then,
yeah,
I was like, you know what, let's get a pregnancy test and whatnot. And then I wasn't too sure what I wanted it to be. And it's only when I actually did the process and I thought, I really do want to have a baby.
Okay.
And when I saw it was positive, I was so excited. I was just like over the moon. Told my mum about it. She was over the moon and whatnot. My sister. So yeah, it was a beautiful surprise. And I thought, okay, I've always known that if I'm blessed with a boy, his name would be Malachi. I've known it for years. Even like my mum and sister, they always say, oh yeah, we can't wait for Kai to come along.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were ready for him. So when I found out that I was pregnant, we went to the hospital. I was 8 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
And then they did the checks and everything like that. And I thought, wow. And then the doctor said to me that the expected date of arrival was the 20th of December, which is my mum's birthday.
Okay.
So that was another surprise. Like, wow, okay. That's amazing. He ended up coming 4 days prior, but yeah, it was just like, it's nice. It was December.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did the antenatal in Ghana. There, it was all new. I didn't know what to expect or anything like that. So it's just new. Plus I was throwing up constantly, just feeling very low within myself.
Did you have your first appointment with the midwives there? Or did they have midwives that do the care at the beginning?
Yeah. So you have midwives there, but first you do the pre-bit. I don't know what it's called now, because it feels like it was ages ago. They did a lot of things, but I just wanted to make sure my baby was okay. That was my focus. As long as he's okay, that's it. Okay. Yeah, so they did a few scans. They gave us a printout of that as well. Yeah. And just, okay, go on. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Here's your baby, carry on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about your experience of the sickness, because that is a thing that a lot of women will experience. So in early pregnancy, there's a lot of changes that happen in your body, a lot of changes to your gut, increased blood flow, changes to the blood vessels, and that can impact on your body's response to the pregnancy, and that can increase your risk of nausea and vomiting. And in some women, that could even progress to something called hyperemesis gravidarum, which is where you're vomiting several times a day, or you're really nauseous several times a day, and it's really difficult to keep food down and water. And so a lot of women with that situation will end up quite dehydrated. What was your experience of the sort of early pregnancy nausea? So
I thought, okay, when I did my research, that they said, the throwing up would end after the first trimester. So I thought, okay, cool, that's fine. Like we're nearly there. Then I found out that I had HG.
Okay.
And that was way later. Okay. It was only after the first trimester, and I was still throwing up very heavily. Literally, like certain smells make me throw up. In Ghana, they did this thing where they burn what they call bola, which is rubbish. Okay. And people just do it all over the place and whatnot. That smell, it was horrible. Like it really irritated me. That's the thing. Yeah. But just constantly throwing up until even after I gave birth, I was still throwing up a bit as well. So that was really hard, and it was very draining as well. Plus, because I'm self-employed and whatnot, I've got my clients. I had just started the business, so I was doing everything myself. So yeah, it was really hard, and not knowing what it was as well. And plus the doctors didn't know what it was. They kept saying, oh yeah, it will end soon. Yeah. Even when I came back to the UK, did a few tests, same thing. They wasn't sure what it was until I did my own research. Yeah. And so there's a couple of points there that Melissa's raised, is like importance of doing your own research and importance of going to validated sites as well to do that, because it's very easy for for you to find lots of information on the internet. There's an overwhelm of information actually. So making sure you're going to reputable sites is very important.
important. There's a lot of national sites and international sites, because she was in Ghana to start with. But you know, we've got pregnancy sickness support. We've also got the NHS website as well, and they have lots of information about pregnancy sickness and hyperemesis as well. And so tell us a little bit about what coping mechanisms you actually used to help you get through that, at least the first trimester or the second trimester, when it really was bad for you.
I'll say coping mechanisms, just take it day by day.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. And then I had acid reflux as well.
Of course, yeah.
So
that sometimes happens with hyperemesis as well.
Yeah, and I feel like just doing research and having that reassurance that, okay, this is a part of that journey, those symptoms and whatnot, and there's nothing wrong with the baby. And I felt whenever I felt Malachi kick, that would just make me so excited. It would give me that energy.
Yeah.
But then also take my mind off of it and just like, you know, doing baby shopping, like looking at things online and whatnot. Those things really helped me to focus on, you know, just bringing him into this world and not focusing on the pain.
Yeah. Oh, that's so challenging. Acid reflux is very common as well. If you've had lots of sickness, you know, you can have more damage to the lining, because the sickness is your stomach acids that are coming back up every time you vomit. And if your stomach's empty because you can't keep food down, then all you're bringing up is like stomach acids, and that can, you know, cause tears and burns to the lining. So really important to try and you know, use natural remedies, like you said, milk, you know, Reni tablets. You might need some actual medications from the doctors to support you on that journey. And it's very important to be open to that and seek help if you feel like, actually, this is more than I can bear. I can't keep fluids down. I can't keep food down. Your body needs quite a lot of nutrients during pregnancy, your vitamins, your minerals, your electrolytes. So if you're not able to keep food down, then you should be going to access support from your early pregnancy unit or from your maternity unit, depending on how far along you are.
Yeah. And I remember now is that when I was in Ghana, they would constantly, every time I go there saying I'm not feeling well, they would give me fluids.
Yeah.
So they were almost like forcing me to like, you need to have this and whatnot. It's because you're not eating anything.
Yeah.
But here I realized it just kind of said like, you know, the baby will be okay, basically.
Yeah.
So it was very different hearing information there and then information here.
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that's really reassuring is that babies are very good at taking the nutrients they need from mums. But obviously we've got to keep mum going as well, because it's all well and good if baby is able to access those nutrients. But if you are constantly vomiting and not getting the nutrients that you need, then that can impact on how much baby then gets. So very important to just make sure that, even if you are sipping Lucozade or whatever your drink of choice is that's sugary and full of electrolytes, that you do little sips throughout the day, and basically just try and get some support. Fluids is something that they will do if you come in and you're extremely dehydrated. They usually do some blood tests to check, and they'll do a urine sample as well to check for something called ketones in your urine. And if there's lots of ketones in your urine, it's a sign of dehydration. So that's when they would offer intravenous or IV fluids, where they put a little drip into your hand and then give you some electrolyte fluids to help try and balance everything out. Yeah. How was your experience of pregnancy when you moved to the UK? So in comparison to the kind of care you were receiving in Ghana?
In terms of my experience, comparing them in terms of like how they handled us, I would say in Ghana, they gave us what we needed, because whenever I got the fluid, I felt better for a good few days and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I felt like when I came here, I was almost like left to just get on with it.
Soldier on.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. So even when I would speak to my midwife, I felt like there was no empathy there, or you know, I felt like, okay, she was meant to be my go-to person, like the person that has all the information, that's been there, done that. And whenever I would say to her, like, this is what I'm experiencing and whatnot, oh, sorry to hear that. You can try, you know, this medication, that medication. But if you're somebody who is more inclined to natural remedies, and you just want to kind of prescribe all of these medications to take, and it's almost like a trial and error, I'm happy to try something if it's going to help. But if it's like you're not sure, and then you're just prescribing so many different things, you're not actually thinking about what that's doing to me, my mental health, and my child as well. So that's where I have that's where my concern is that, okay, when I started doing my research into the ingredients into these medications and how they affect the mother and the baby, I was mind blown that a lot of these things can be harmful to someone's pregnancy. And there's a reason why they say, like, if you're pregnant or if you're breastfeeding, that you shouldn't take them, but then yet you're being prescribed like 4 different things that can harm the child and harm you. And that's what was very alarming to me, is that lack of knowing that, okay, if you're prescribing multiple stuff, what effect is it having on that person? Or is there any care for what it can have, what effect it can have on that person? Because some of these medications as well can affect your mental health as well. And if you're going through something already and then you give birth and now you're having to look after a newborn baby, that all contributes.
So actually 20% of women who suffer from hyperemesis will have some form of PTSD following pregnancy because of what your experience is. So actually, and some of the medications can affect you know, your mental health in some ways. So actually we've got to be quite cautious in the way that we prescribe those medications. And I think it's so important that you have that, it's a dialogue when you are going to speak to the doctors, because there are lots of different medications that can be helpful in hyperemesis, and a really great place to find out more information about medications and their use in pregnancy is a website called BUMPS, Best Use of Medication in Pregnancy, and that talks about the risks and benefits to women. So if someone, you know, is more prone to or has a history of depression, for example, they may decide that one medication might not be beneficial for that woman. And it's very difficult because a lot of the medications that are out on the market at the moment, they're not tested for their use in pregnant women. And so, because you can't sort of go, I'm going to give this medication to these lot of pregnant women and see what happens to their baby. But what they do is retrospective studies where they go, okay, actually, we know that this many thousands of women took this medications and no adverse side effects were reported, or these were the adverse side effects that were reported, which means that, okay, it's safe to use in the beginning of pregnancy, but actually it's going to cause problems for the babies if we carry that on past the 2nd trimester, or actually it's safe to use in the 2nd trimester but not the 1st trimester. So we'll start with that one and then switch to different medications at a later point. And with hyperemesis, because of the way everybody's body is different and everybody's chemical makeup is different, so actually the way your body metabolizes certain medications is different. And so some women will say, actually, I tried that medication, it didn't work. And they're like, oh, I tried this and it did work, but only when it was in combination with that one. And sometimes it is like a back and forth where you and the doctor are going, okay, I've tried this for 2 weeks, it's exactly the same, or it's got worse, you know, what else can we do? And so I can understand your frustration, like sort of just being said, God, oh, we can do this, we can do that, or we could try this combination. But it's very individualized, and one size doesn't fit all, very unfortunately. It would be very nice if we could just give out one medication and that covers everyone. But it's sort of a journey that you have to go on, which
definitely. And I know that once I'm ready to have another child, I have the knowledge of, okay, this is what worked for me last time, and this is how to handle it. Because apparently once you've had HG, the chances of having it again is very high. And I was like, and how, that's a great question for me to ask you, actually, because, you know, for women out there who are thinking, I've been through it, and like the thought of being pregnant again and going through that, especially if some of those women are going to have PTSD from a traumatic birth, like, what emotions does that bring up for you? Well, at first I thought to myself, like, that's it, one child's enough. But now recently I've gone through a few changes in my personal life, and I've realized, actually, no, I would like to have another child. Like, I really would like to. And I'm okay with going through that again. Not as bad.
With the right support.
With the right support, exactly. With the right support, whether it's professional support, whether it's home support, just making sure that I have the right people around me. And I feel like because Malaka's 3 years old now, and because I've gotten used to certain things, I just kind of feel like I can definitely do this again. I can. It's worth it. It's worth bringing another child into this world and just kind of, you know, molding them and whatnot. So that makes me excited. But before, if you had asked me 2 months ago, I'd be like, no, that's it.
So I'm sure, like my midwife colleagues and other women will be able to attest to that. Because actually a lot of women, as they're leaving us in maternity, they're like, see you again, never, thank you very much, I'm done. But if we said that, we'd all be extinct and I'd be out of a job. So I definitely know that actually our bodies are very good at forgetting some of those, if not necessarily all the mental side of things, but at least the physical, because you do forget, and then when you're going through it again, you're like, oh my gosh, exactly. I remember why I took my time now.
Exactly.
But it's, I think, going into a next pregnancy, having the right support and being more equipped with knowledge. Like now, Mellisa, you've got that like knowledge to go, okay, I know what worked for me last time. I know what, like I tried this. I know fluids was really helpful in getting me back up to it. So now you can go ready and equipped to your medical team and be like, okay, I'm seeing the signs that I might be developing hyperemesis again. This was my experience. This is what worked well for me. And especially as women of color, like it's so important that we advocate for ourselves in the healthcare setting to ensure that we are being listened to and we are being heard, because that is all part of advocating for yourself and protecting yourself and your baby. So
definitely.
I feel
and that's what I had to learn. I had to learn to really speak up and just say, like, listen, this is how I'm feeling, and almost saying like, this is what I need right now. That's what it feels like. Even with my son now speaking to the GP, I've gained so much information before speaking to them, so I can say, okay, this is what I've seen, this is what he needs. And literally I'll put it to literally like them typing up everything, sending off the referrals, because I realized that if you like, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that, you kind of go in like timid, like, oh yeah, I think he's having this, and it's like, no, this is what's happening. I know my child, right? He needs this. Let's get this going. So that really helps me to kind of just step up and just say, you know what, Mellisa, this is your life, this is your son's life. You need to actually advocate for yourself.
100%. 100%. And we know the state of the NHS at the moment. All the services are being stretched.
Again, we know the state of the NHS.
I say it like it's the truth. Like
we all know.
We know the state of the NHS. They're struggling out there. Like, I know the government would love to increase our taxes and put more money into it, but there's only so much we can do. But we know the state of the NHS, and we know that it's so much better if you go in there going, look, I've done my research. Could it be this? And ask questions that are pertinent to personalizing it to yourself. So say, okay, for a woman that looks like me, what is the benefit of this? Has anything shown any side effects for a woman that with my situation that looks like me? It's so important to personalize that. So then your healthcare professional actually has to think a little bit more and has to go, okay, I don't know that, but let me come back to you. And that's okay. It's okay to ask those questions, and it's okay to advocate for yourself.
And I think I love that point, is that it's okay to do it. Because I feel like sometimes we just hold ourselves back and just think, oh, I don't want to overstep, or they're the professionals and whatnot. But they're human as well. Humans who are, we're working in quite strained conditions a lot of the time. But what the thing is, sometimes when I look after women who have had a difficult previous pregnancy and they come back, they're like, I wish I had asked that question. I wish I had been more forward with that. And that is why now I'm speaking up. And that's why, I'm telling you what I need. And I'm like, good. I love that for you. Because actually you don't want to live a life of regret. You don't, especially when it comes to birthing your children. You don't want to ever think, I wish I had asked that. Ask it. Even if it seems silly to you, it might prompt something in your healthcare professional that actually goes, okay, maybe we should think about that for a woman that looks like you. Maybe we should, order that extra test. Definitely really important to be bold enough to speak up. And if you don't feel like you are bold enough to speak up, then you can always ask another midwife as well. You can ask for a second opinion. That's okay to do as well. I did not know that.
I feel like, it should always be a dialogue between you and your healthcare professionals, be it your midwife, be it your doctors. And that's what services like maternity triage are there for. So you'll have doctors of different grades, and, they'll present a management plan to you if you go in there needing support. And if you're not sure, don't leave until you are. Say to them, I would really like to, have a second opinion about that, just to confirm that, this plan is most appropriate for me. There is no harm in asking for that. And even if they are tutting, which they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't, but they will.
Be,
some.
But it is okay to ask for a second opinion if you feel that that's going to give you the reassurance that you need.
And I think also the understanding that they could be going under stress as well. They've got personal lives. There's different things that can contribute to them seeing you that day and giving you that kind of behavior as well. So also for me as a patient, going in and just kind of saying that, maybe she's going through something, just kind of having that grace and just saying, okay, let me just get what I need so that I can go and let her handle him handle his business and whatnot. But just understand that people are human. Is something that I've learned as well.
Brilliant. Let's talk about the birth. So when did you start to feel like you were going into labor? And yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I had a appointment a few weeks before my due date. I believe it was probably end of November.
Okay.
And then my midwife said that they might have to induce the pregnancy.
Okay, and why was that?
I don't think she said why, to be honest. I can't recall what she said, but she just said that they might have to induce the pregnancy. But I knew that the expected date of arrival was the 20th of December. So for me, it was just like, why are we even talking about that kind of thing?
So was it like the birth planning appointment where they'd say, okay, this is what to expect in labor, and
yes.
if labor doesn't start, then after a certain point we might offer you induction of labor.
But she said that within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So for me, like when I checked the date, I thought, but he still has time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like, okay, we're doing things the natural way. He will come when he comes, basically. So what I started doing was just doing research to just kind of look into natural ways to kind of help with the process. And then I read that raspberry leaf tea was good. I took that in December. I took it like probably the first week. I just took it once just to see how things would go. And then I took it another time. That second time, Malachi came the next day.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember this so clearly. Like literally I had the tea and whatnot, had a nice warm bath. And then I just thought to myself, I feel very much like, I'm getting the hang of this. Yeah, I kind of feel like, oh, this pregnancy thing is not hard. And then that night I started getting contractions, but I didn't know it was contractions.
Okay.
Remember, like this is all new to me, right? Yeah. So when I done research about Braxton Hicks, I'm thinking it's just little things here and there.
Did you have Braxton Hicks at all before?
Yeah, I did.
So you had some tightenings. Your tummy was going hard.
But this was extreme.
Okay.
But so I thought, okay, I thought it was just Braxton Hicks and whatnot. So I remember it was so painful. Like it got really intense that I couldn't even sleep. So I had stayed up the night.
Yeah.
I could not sleep whatsoever. And then I was in so much pain. And the mum said to me, because I stayed at my mum's place, because obviously I had moved to Ghana. So when I came back, like when I moved to Ghana, everything was done. Like I sold my car, everything. So I stayed at my mum's, and she could hear me in so much pain. And she said, she went to go to work. And she said to me, should I go to work? I said, yeah, mum, like, it's fine. It's just Braxton Hicks. And then she could really tell that, no, like,
Braxton Hicks.
Yeah. So she said, I'm going to stay home with you. And then I started to do research because I thought that my water would break first and what that's, how they do it in the movies, like just a big splash and then all of a sudden.
That's a common misconception, actually. Yeah, that water will break first before labour. So hopefully, at your birth planning appointment, which most of the time happens around 36, 37 weeks in the UK, they should be telling you about, how labour starts and what to expect. And, that, a lot of women will go through the labour and their waters will break, like at some point progressing into the labour, or like when they're pushing, or when, as the baby's born. Sometimes waters don't break until the baby is born.
Oh, wow.
So actually, this is why it's so important to, that we should be offering you antenatal education. And that's unfortunately, one of the services that is really getting stretched within the NHS is antenatal education, which is why I'm starting, something like this to share women's experience and to educate women. And so
it's necessary.
Yeah,
it is definitely, because even you just talking, I can tell how passionate you are about it as well, and just the information that you're sharing. I'm learning a lot even in this discussion. So it's good. It's definitely necessary.
Good. Okay, thank you. So you were thinking, my waters haven't broken, so this can't be labour. Yeah. This just is some intense Braxton Hicks. And you just thought, I'm just going to power through this and eventually I'll stop.
Literally, I was still like handling clients social media pages and things like that. And then I would have that contractions, which I didn't know was contractions, but it got really heavy. And I thought, okay, no. So I called 111.
Okay.
No, I called the hospital first.
Yes.
And then that's when they kind of confirmed that I was basically going through the process and whatnot. And they said to me that I should come in when it's 10 minutes apart.
Okay.
So in that time, I'm doing my research to know, because I don't want to go there and just be sitting.
Yeah.
Because even when I had to go to the hospital for checkups and whatnot, I would just see women who are in labour.
Yeah.
And they get told to go home.
Yeah. Yes.
And I remember one lady, she's like waddling in and whatnot. She was in so much pain, and I think she said she's been there 3 times.
Oh, bless her.
And I thought, wow. I said, no, I'm not doing that.
If you can avoid that, I'm sure everyone would avoid that if they could, 100%.
So I thought, okay, if they're saying 10 minutes, I'm going to go when it's 5 minutes. That's what I said.
Smart, yeah.
Getting an ambulance was an issue.
Okay.
They were telling my mum that I might have to give birth at home. So they're telling her to get a shoelace. And my mum is panicking.
This shoelace thing, I'm gonna come back to that. Remind me to come back to that.
When they said shoelace, I thought, what?
I know.
They're telling her to get all these things. I thought they haven't been sterilised. Like, what do you mean? So I said, I'm booking an Uber. So first I called my friend. She was she's a teacher, so she was at work. And I thought, okay, if I can't get hold of her, let me book an Uber. I couldn't get hold of her, booked an Uber. Uber came now, and I'm like, yeah,
were you huffing and puffing at this point?
No, I'm very calm. That's the thing. So you don't know what I'm going through unless I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very calm, and like a few minutes, and then it's like, okay.
As we were.
Yeah, that's it. And then mum says something like, and then like, okay, what was you saying now? So it was like that. Then we got to the hospital, told them that I'm in labour, how far apart the contractions are and whatnot. They didn't pay me much attention, to be honest, until I had my contraction. Then like 2 people came running out, those in the waiting room were saying like, she's in labour. I'm thinking, these are panicking more than me. So they quickly took me through and everything. They told me did a urine test. By the time I gave them the urine, it was time, basically.
It was time.
Yeah,
okay.
It was time. So
hanging about.
Oh yeah, it was time. So my mum called my son's dad and like just said to him like this was happening and whatnot. And yeah, by the time she hung up, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't make it?
Oh no, he's in Ghana.
Oh.
Yeah. He's in
He definitely
Ghana.
didn't make it then.
Yeah, unfortunately the when he applied for a visitor's visa, they didn't accept it and whatnot. So we knew like maybe 2 weeks before. Yeah. So yeah, but by the time she hung up the phone, that was it. Like all I heard was like a splash.
So that's
that bit was like the movie.
That was like the movie, big old splash. Okay.
Splash, and then they tell me not to push. And I'm thinking, I'm not pushing. Like,
so were you in a labour room at this point? Like,
yeah, not in a labour room. They took me to the next bit. So it's where all these other people are and whatnot, other patients. And then when they realised that my water had broke, that's when they put me in a wheelchair and took me into the labour room.
Okay.
And they're telling me not to push. And I'm like, I'm not pushing. Like,
were you not pushing, but your body was doing
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm like, I'm not pushing. Yeah. Like, he's coming.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened, because when she checked, it's like maybe she could see the head or something.
Yeah.
But they were like, we need to go.
Yeah.
So literally they wheeled me through, had to quickly get onto the bed, and all of that was a blur. And like until talking about it now, I'm like, how did I even get on the bed?
You remember the bits you need to remember.
Yeah.
How you got on the bed.
And then before I know, I think maybe like 4 pushes.
Okay.
And yeah, he was here.
Okay.
Yeah. So they like took him out, put him on me. He didn't cry. Like, he was just very calm.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he just kind of cried like, yeah, and then went quiet
again. Clear the lungs. He's like, I don't need to make all this noise. I'm just clearing the lungs.
Yeah. And it's just like, honestly, it was like the most beautiful thing. Like giving birth and then having your baby just placed on you. It's like, oh my gosh, he's here.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God mum took so much videos.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she took so many videos.
Yeah.
Mum, she saw herself as like a little YouTuber.
I love that.
So she took so much videos. Even some videos that she shouldn't have taken.
Zoom in here.
Yeah. And even like the nurses are like, no, don't take videos of that. Because it's like literally just... I
love that. At least you got enough to go, okay, delete that one. Definitely
oh no, I keep them.
Yeah.
It's nice to look back on them and just be like, okay. Yeah, so it was beautiful. Oh, beautiful.
It's lovely to have the pictures.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, sorry.
Fab. So just a couple of points to touch on. So most of the time, if you think labour is starting, so when you contact your maternity triage, they will ask how frequently the contractions are coming, if you're having any signs of bleeding, how your baby is moving, and if your waters have broken. Those are kind of like the standard questions you get asked to kind of decide how quickly you need to come in and how you need to come in as well. So if, for example, your contractions are 2 minutes apart, and that's gone from like maybe an hour ago they were 10 minutes apart, now they're 2 minutes apart, you can't talk through them, you're not bleeding, but you know you're having like a lot of mucousy discharge, that's normal. But like if they're seeing that, okay, actually you're contracting more than 3 in 10 or 3 every 10 minutes and then lasting like almost up to a minute, those are good signs that actually you're likely to be in established labour. And established labour is what we call anything from 4 centimetres and with regular contractions. So we're seeing a lot of changes because the cervix has to get soft, it has to move forward, it's got to start dilating. And those are all those early stages of labour. That's what the kind of latent phase, the early phase of labour, that's the changes that are happening. And so a lot of times when you talk about women coming in going, oh, I'm not in labour, but she's huffing and puffing, like most of the time that's the case. case is that, okay, they are regularly contracting, but the changes to the cervix haven't quite got to the point where we go, okay, you're in established labor. Because once you get to like usually about 4 centimeters, it varies, you know, for different women, but we have to have a mark, a point. So for most women, that is 4 centimeters. And then we know actually we expect a certain level of progress from that point. Before then, it can be, you could be doing that for a day or 2 or 3, you know, while those small changes like your cervix getting softer and, you know, changing, those can take, it can take a few days for that to happen for some women. But others, like you, it sounds like your body was like, oh, we're going into gear.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And yeah, so most of the time when you contact your midwives, they will say, okay, how regularly, how often? And then they'll say, okay, yeah, make your way into the hospital. Yeah, if you've got someone to bring you or your Uber, then that's fine. The only time really they would ask you to take an ambulance is if there was bleeding, active bleeding, like it was trickling out, like, you know how you, when you wee, that kind of trickling out of bleeding. If you're not sure and you're having regular contractions, if you're worried about baby's movements, or there's like your water's breaking, it's like thick green, and there's any concerns, so that's like meconium in the waters. So those are, you know, it's not often that women have to take an ambulance, but one of the reasons why they would say to women, just call an ambulance now, or we'll call the ambulance, you know, while you are getting yourself ready, is active bleeding, because then we're worried about how baby's doing with the active bleeding.
That's interesting, because since returning to the UK, I always thought when I was pregnant that, you know, that's my ride to the hospital, the ambulance.
And that, I think as well, like people who are who have not accessed much of the NHS in the UK have that perception that, oh yeah, I'll just call an ambulance and they'll come and get me, right? Like but yeah, no, ambulance, it costs about £700 for an ambulance ride.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a little bit more than Uber. Yeah, so actually, and that, I think that was probably a little while ago, but yeah, like it's on average it's several £100s to call an ambulance.
Wow.
So really we like to prioritize, you know, we're talking about the state of the NHS.
Yeah.
So it's generally, we would it's always good to speak to the maternity triage for them to support you with making the decision about if that's appropriate for you, because for some women absolutely it will be appropriate to call an ambulance, but for most women they are usually able to access transport to get to the hospital in good time, where we're not concerned about baby.
Yeah, because if I had known that, I would have, you know, organized for a family member or a friend to be like, listen, this is what's happening.
Everyone be on standby, kind
you
of
know,
thing,
but I just kind of thought, okay, I'm going with the ambulance, my mum's coming with me, that's fine. But if she had gone to work that day,
you'd have been at home by yourself,
because she would have finished working until like 7 p.m. So
Malachi would have been here, breastfed, done.
Exactly. So it's good to have people around you who are discerning as well, and that, you know, they can see signs, they've been there, they've done that, they can see signs and just say, you know what, I'm going to stay here and support you. So that's good.
So Malachi was born, you got the first cuddles, must have been amazing. And what happened afterwards? Because I think you mentioned that you had some bleeding, and needed some extra support with that and the tear.
Yeah, so I had a 3rd-degree tear. I think they called it a 3A tear.
Okay.
So basically, once he was born, they sorted him out. They had to take me through to
theatre.
Theatre, so that they can sew me up basically.
And you needed a spinal for that? Did they numb you?
Yes, they did. They did numb me. Yeah. So and then they put oh gosh, what's it called? Is it a catheter?
A catheter. Yeah.
Yeah. So they put a catheter in as well. So I had that. First time ever having that. Hope I never need it again. Yeah. But I didn't realize that
it was in and
you know, I was thinking like,
they usually wait till you're numb before they put that in.
Yeah, but I was thinking like, oh, I haven't been to the toilet for a while. Yeah. And didn't realize there's a bag there. Like
so your wee on the side.
Yeah, which was really interesting. But it was an interesting experience.
A 3A tear is when there is a tear in the vagina or the perineum that goes a bit deeper than we'd like it to. And so we're worried that, you know, some of the tissue between the vagina and the anus might have been damaged. And so therefore we always like to take women to theatre to repair that kind of tear, because we need to pay special attention to ensure that the function of both your vagina and your anus is not compromised when you've had a significant tear like that. And usually they will do that under spinal anesthetic. That is an anesthetic that goes into your back and numbs your legs so that you can't feel anything from sort of like the tummy down. And they will put a catheter, as Mellisa said, they put a catheter in to help you drain the urine, because you'll have no sensation of when you need to go for a wee. Usually that will all wear off and you'll be able to wee by yourself, usually within 24 hours. But yeah, so it is a significant tear, but for most women it actually heals really well, and the recovery is fairly straightforward, and they will offer you a check in sort of 6 to 8 weeks to check that everything is okay following that kind of tear.
Yeah. And I had to do physio as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so I had to do that, which was good. After my second session, I thought I'm good. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to keep doing this.
So do your pelvic floor exercises.
Yeah.
And if you need physio, then yeah, there's a lot of there's a new service for most NHS services that is about perinatal pelvic health support. So if you've had, because sometimes after you've had a baby, things aren't as tight as they need to be. It takes a bit of time for it to go back to normal, and the weight of the pregnancy, the weight of baby, means that those muscles that hold your urine and keep everything from just kind of leaking out can get a bit lax. So pelvic floor exercises are really important to do after you've had a baby, especially if you've had a 2nd or 3rd degree tear as well. Yeah, brilliant. So how was the recovery for you?
I think it was straightforward. I was more focused on, okay, I've just been handed Malachi.
Go forth with your baby.
What do I do next? And what kind of another thing that alarmed me is that when I couldn't, because obviously I didn't know how to breastfeed, so I was just like, okay, he hasn't been fed yet when I was in the hospital. And I had brought formula just in case, and they said, oh no, it's fine, like babies don't need to eat at least for 24 hours. And for me, I thought, okay, so, you know, took him home and whatnot, did try to feed him again, and like he was really crying, and mum came and she's like, Mellisa, he needs to be fed. And I didn't want to give him formula. That's the thing, I wanted him to be on breast milk. And I was saying to her, well, I'm trying to feed him and he's not taking it, basically. Not realizing he's not taking it. I think
he hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then so she came in, like, I think it was like 4 years, like, no, Mellisa, like, you need to feed him.
Yeah.
I was like, but the nurse said that he can go without eating for 24 hours. And then she's just like, no. And I said, you know what, let me just make him a formula and see. And he was hungry. And it broke my heart just thinking, like, I'm there thinking he's okay. And then when I gave him the formula, like, he finished the whole thing off. So he was really, really hungry. Even like now, it makes me feel emotional to know that he was starving, and I didn't know that, and it's just because I had in my head that, okay, he'll be okay, if it goes over 24 hours, and that's the problem, but also that it's not like he wasn't taking the breast milk, he just didn't know how to.
And it's an instinct for babies. They will suck pretty much anything that, you know, because they've got a sucking reflex, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know when, how, and, you know, the finesse of it. They don't always know that. So it's really important that you do get lots of support from the staff before you're discharged home, because actually 3 a.m. is not the time you want to find out that, you know, this isn't going well and all of that. So as much as women do want to go home as soon as possible, it's always advised that if you're planning to breastfeed, that you do get some support with positioning and attachment and getting the right latch and making sure that baby knows how to do it and what to do if you think that baby's not getting enough milk. Can you hand express? Can you be supported to collect some colostrum and then, you know, drip feed it into baby's mouth? Because there's lots of ways that you can do that. And a lot of women can express colostrum and give it to baby. And sometimes they are a bit sluggish in the first 24 hours because they're tired from the birth and all that whole process is exhausting for babies, but also they're just trying to, you know, figure it out. Some babies haven't quite mastered the art of actually latching onto the breast, so they just get lazy and tired, but yeah, that's where, you know, midwifery support really comes into it. So yeah, I'm sorry you had that experience, and I feel like, you know for next time,
definitely,
that okay, I need to be more proactive in like seeking for help to make sure that I know how to latch baby on and how much they should be taking, because they don't need much in the first 24 hours, but they do need something, and they should really, in an ideal world, have feeds within the first 24 hours. They should have feeds at least sort of 4 to 5 hourly, and that picks up to a sort of 2 to 3 hourly by the second night. By the second night, they figure out what hunger is, and then they are like ravenous, and you're not sleeping, they're not sleeping because they just want to eat, and so they do catch up, but they should be at least getting at least 4 feeds in that 24-hour period, first 24 hours. But I think there should not ever be mum guilt if you choose to give baby formula and you're planning to breastfeed. we're just trying to make the best of like life.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why you should feel guilty about that, because actually you can still breastfeed even if you've given baby formula. Yeah, breast is best, and it's, you know, but actually if it's going to affect your mental health, like, you know, not be able to get enough milk, not getting the right support, then, you know, do what you need to do to keep yourself sane, to look after your baby. That's what I say as a midwife.
That's great advice. That is great advice.
Yeah. So to finish us off then, Mellisa, what I'd really like to know from you is just a couple of points that you think would be beneficial for other women who are going through pregnancy and childbirth. Like what would you want other women to know when they are pregnant?
There's so much to know.
I know.
What I would say is, one, do your research, do extensive research, connect with the right professionals. I did look into doulas and whatnot, but unfortunately the ones that I connected with, they were fully booked. And it makes sense, because people, they do desire knowledge, basically.
Extra support and knowledge,
and someone to talk to. So I'll say, do your research and whatnot. As soon as you find out that you're pregnant, it's never too early to prepare yourself. Even now, if you're planning to, you know, have a family, start doing research from now. Knowledge is definitely power. I would also say to understand what aligns with you, what kind of birthing experience you want as well. Originally, I wanted to give birth in water, but everything happened so quickly, so that wasn't even in place and whatnot. But just understand that if things don't go accordingly, it's okay.
It's okay.
The main thing is that you're healthy and that you're happy and whatnot. It's okay. Don't be disappointed. Don't be hard on yourself. Just know that it's a learning experience. Another thing I want mothers or women who want to become mothers to understand is that there's different ways to do things. It's not because this person did it this way that's how it's supposed to be done. There's multiple ways of doing things to get the best result that is best for you. And just to have an open mind and just know that your body was made for this. The way your body has been designed, you're designed to carry children and whatnot. So all of the pain that comes with it, you've been made for it, basically. So just get that strength from within and just know that, you know what, my body was made for this. And that's what encouraged me along the journey, that I just kept saying to myself, like, God has made me in a way that I'm supposed to carry children and whatnot. I can do this, and that whatever comes with it. So just have a positive mindset, meditate, whatever you need to do, sit outside, connect to the right people.
Outdoors is the best place as well, like in terms of it's very healing. And like especially even if you're having the sickness and everything, like sometimes just being in the sun, even if it's winter, just a bit of sun on your face, like it helps you reconnect with nature. And I love the point that you made about if things don't go to plan, like it's okay. I think we have to allow ourselves to be a little bit flexible in the plans of what we would like, and to think about, okay, this is what I'd like, but how would I feel if it doesn't go to plan? So I wanted a natural birth, but actually I had a cesarean section, like if I had a cesarean section, how would that make me feel? And I think that it's okay to grieve if you don't have the birth experience that you want. And I think it's so important to talk it out. So find, you know, the right people to share your experience with, because that can be very healing in itself. And actually that can bring a lot of closure. So you might not have had a traumatic birth experience, but you might find it beneficial to talk to a healthcare professional about your experience. And midwives don't always have time, but actually if you request that, you might find that you may be able to be offered that through your hospital. And if you can't, then there's services that will offer that privately as well. So think about, you know, your recovery and your healing, both physically and emotionally and mentally as well. Yeah. Fabulous. Oh my goodness, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Mellisa, for taking the time to talk to us about your birth experience. It's been wonderful. And I look forward to sharing more experiences with you and talking it out. Definitely.
I'll come back when I have baby number 2.
Hey, I know. I think she's going to go to Ghana for that. But amazing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.